You have no idea.
Join Junior along with the Wayne Borje Band as he makes any kind from Hawaii.
You have no idea what kind.
And now,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you.
Junior Kekuewa Jr.
Thank you, Rocky. Mahalo. How's it, Hawaii? How you, Hawaii? How you, Hawaii? Ah, Hawaii. Hawaii. How's it? Okay. All right. Hey, welcome to the podcast. I'm Junior Kekuewa Jr. And on today's podcast, we're broadcasting from brand new studios. Like, I can't believe this place. This is and this is like a dream come true. So anyway, the short story is I went out and bought a studio. This short story, but it's digital, right? So Jay's over there behind the window running things, and he's giving me the thumbs up over here. Double thumbs up. There we go. He's giving me the double thumbs up over there, and it sounds like FM radio, right? And so we want to bring you the best quality, because before we were doing it in mono. And it was like, I was okay with it because it was convenient, but then I'm like, no, our people deserve better. And so here's the thing, right? A long time ago, the first marketing director that I hired told me, he said, Uncle, if you keep doing this thing, you just have to keep doing it, and like you can have your own radio station. And I'm like, what? And I didn't know what he meant, right? But now there's internet radio stations. Of course, a friend of mine, Aloha Joe, look him up online. Aloha Joe has a internet radio show. He's done it for years and years. So it's nothing new. It's not like they just invented it or something like that. But Aloha Joe has a very good show, and somebody was asking me to send him my music. We're going to do that shortly. But the most important thing, though, is that, we level up the podcast for you. So first, the attitude of gratitude. And, we really want to acknowledge the people of Hawaii because without them, like, I'm nothing. So we want to say aloha to the people in Mililani Town, Hilo, Ewa Beach, Kaneohe, Kilauea, Aiea, Waianae, and Kailua, Kapolei, Lihui. Oh, people in Lihui are listening, right? They're like, hey, we knew him. It's monkey time. He used to come Lihui, make trouble. Waipahu, Kauna Kakai, Molokai is listening. Wahiwa, Koloa, Kealakekua on the Big Island. Makawao in Maui, that's my favorite place, cowboy country. And Hana in Maui, where my grandparents are from, Pearl City, and the list goes on. But we want to thank you guys, okay? Because without you, there's no podcast. So and also, we were looking at like stats for like male, female, whatever. Male 66.5 right now, and there's a lot of young people. Okay, our 18 to 27 demographic is building. We have a lot of 28 to 34 year olds, a lot of 35 to 44 year olds, and then it kind of goes up like to dead after that. Okay, but anyway, and we're going to be making adjustments to the sound, and we're going to be making adjustments, here and there, whatever. But on today's podcast, we want to talk about something very serious. We want to talk about your mental health. Okay, and not just, not as a medical professional. We make no medical, claims or anything like that. But mental health is important. Emotional health is very, very important. And this is what we deal with, with emotions at Here For You Life Coaching. Now, this is a life coaching, law of attraction comedy podcast because, sometimes I can't help it. I want to make people laugh. That's just me. I've done that. So a little background on myself. I've been teaching for 35 years, and I've been doing radio. I was on radio. Well, I've been doing broadcasting, radio and television for 40 years. I did one, I did a podcast on, wrestling, and I was a wrestling commentator on television, and that was about it. other than people interviewing me on television. That was my extent of TV. And then there was this show, Checkers and Pogo. So those two shows, and but most of the time, it was radio. And I got to tell you that there's nothing more fun for me than radio. And this is the reason why the podcast is not on video. Because I like to do radio, because I like to just sit here and, think up things that I can say that will illustrate a picture in your mind, rather than you being visually distracted into a podcast. And, it won't have the same effect. Much like, the comedians now are actually doing satire. I don't know if they realize it, but they're doing satire. Some of them are doing satire and stand-up comedy. In fact, the best comedian in Hawaii right now, Tumua Tuine, is doing satire. And he does both, and he does stand-up. He does great stand-up. And he engages with people. That's his whole thing. He engages with people. And when you engage with people, you entertain them. And when you entertain them, you become successful. And he's very, very successful. So we want to acknowledge him. We can say his name, okay? It's just the other names. My attorney goes, hey, what are you doing? No names. Okay. But emotional health, okay? When we're talking about like emotional health and, how to achieve ideal emotional health and that kind of stuff, right? You have to know that the eyes are the mirrors of the soul, and the voice is the mirror of the feelings and emotions. And I keep saying this. And when you work with a person's voice, you are actually working with their emotions. Okay, now it gets a little deep. Yeah, it gets a little deep, but it involves, Nikola Tesla's energy, frequency, vibration, that kind of thing. It involves the expression, okay, or what we would like to call force or strength, and we call that velocity, right? Like wind velocity. So because it's air coming out of you, but it's also vibration coming out of you. Vibration is very, very important. Now, I don't know, how savvy you are in the spiritual realm of things. And I'm not talking about voodoo or witchcraft or whatever. I'm talking about how often do you tune into the energy that is within you? I mean, a lot of us take it for granted. A lot of us just see ourselves as this body, and then we got to get this body up and go to work. And I mean, that kind of thing. And, when you look at life like that, you're missing out on like a lot of life, like a lot. Okay, because like I've been in touch and in tune with this type of work, okay, because I work with energy. If you want to say I work with spirits, you can say that. It's a little dramatic, but yeah. But I work with energy, and everything is energy. Okay, everything. And when you start to see everything as energy, when you start to see everything as a vibration, when you start to see everything as, like, whoa, wow, this is, yeah, it takes on a new meaning. And then you start to notice synchronicities. There's a lot of people that I work with, right? Especially in the beginning. In the beginning, when I'm trying to talk to them about this stuff, right? And they're not really, I want to say, savvy, or they're not used to it. They haven't done it or haven't thought about it that way. And, they're kind of like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah. So you can tell when you are being, I want to say, divine intervention. Okay. So you can tell when the divine is intervening with you. Okay, you can tell when God is bringing you things. You can tell when, like they say, let the spirit move you kind of thing. You can tell when the spirit is moving you. Now, I'm not, here to pass judgment and talk about religion and that kind of thing. But I will tell you, it's whatever spirit you believe, because, when you believe in good spirits, you believe in Jesus Christ, and you believe in the Holy Spirit will move you. Okay. If you adhere to, I don't know, witchcraft or whatever, there's going to be other spirits that move you. If you're involved with demons, or you research that, so like you're into it, like, oh, I think this is cool kind of thing, then it'll be demons that you'll experience, that demonic type energy or destructive energy. So when you look at these things, it's not necessarily like anything other than good or bad. And there's good or bad everything, because you have to have a balance. There is no bad without good, and vice versa. So, Alan Watts is a good guy to listen to online if you ever want to go that deep. But when we start to get into these discussions, right? It's like, okay, now for the law of attraction, which is what this show is about. For the law of attraction, like, how am I gonna project the correct energy? Well, it's not that complicated. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. Okay, so how you do it, okay, is you just, I want to say you just have to be positive. And I know that term is overused. It's really kind of burnt to the ground already. Positive. You gotta be positive. You gotta be positive. That kind of thing. But it's true. You really do need to be positive, because that will attract positivity. If you want to be negative, you can be negative. You have that freedom of choice. But if you are negative, what's going to happen is you're going to attract negative circumstances. And the spiral that I describe, right, is you can go down. And you can go down as far as you want until you hit prison. And then there's only one more level, and that's dead. Okay, so you can, choose your levels, right? And we discussed this on the podcast before, and we were talking about frequencies, right, of human beings, and the frequencies of people. Okay, on the bad side, like if you get really down to the worst one, it's fear, and then right above it is shame, then guilt, then grief, despair, envy, boredom, hate, anger, criticism, disappointment, irritation, worry, and it goes up. And then you get the good vibes, right? That start like at satisfaction. So satisfaction is like, okay, I'm satisfied, right? And then hope, and then then enthusiasm. Okay, now that's where you start picking up. Okay, enthusiasm, excitement, passion, joy, gratitude, peace, and love. Okay, now, ironically, peace and love are the same vibration. Okay, but the reason that we mention both of them, peace and love, is because when you have one, you have the other. Okay, when you have peace, you have love. Now, I'm not talking about Valentine's Day love. I'm not talking about commercial commerce love. Okay. And when I talk about, spirituality, I'm not talking about commerce religion. Okay. I'm not talking about you go to church and you watch a couple dances and you sing some songs and then they tell you a really sad story about somebody, somebody who's fighting for their lives kind of thing in a hospital, and then they pass the collection plate. I'm not talking about that. Okay. I'm not talking about the Commerce Bible. I'm not talking about these things in commerce. I'm talking about these things that are rooted in humanity, that are rooted in people. It goes a lot deeper. It's not just, it's not just for money kind of thing, right? And I don't sit here for money. This is my public service. I sit here for you life coaching. Yeah, but, mostly I sit here to help. So the things that I say, hopefully, either you research or you kind of, think about, or maybe it helps you and you start doing it. So let's talk about the 4 pillars, okay? So just to go over the 4 pillars, because we're talking about emotional health, okay? We're talking about emotional wellness. Now, the thing about emotional wellness, before I get into the 4 pillars, the thing about emotional wellness is you want to be able not to be tugged around and pulled around emotionally. Okay, because when somebody can do that to you, they have power over you. When someone can make you react in a certain way, okay, and I'm saying when they have the power to do it, they're controlling you. Okay, so there was a time, right, when I remember I was working at this place. I'm not no names, but I was working at this place with these guys, and you know, I have a very when I get angry, I have a very bad temper, and well, I used to. I don't think I have it anymore. I need to really, be on a lot of coffee, and I think I need to be on a lot of coffee, and I need to be. It needs to be. I need to be prodded for a while, and then I can get angry. But really have nothing to be angry about. Not lately. So, but back in the day, right? It was like so and so would say something, about me on the radio, and then I would come in, and they would go, "Hey, do you know what so and so said about you?" And I was like, "What?" And they go, "Yeah, that kind of thing." And so I would do a joke about him, or like a little dig, or whatever. And so I would do stuff like that. And these guys in the studio would kind of do stuff to get a rise out of me, right? And the first couple of times I fell for it. And then afterwards, I saw the way that they were reacting. And the only way you can do this, Hawaiians, okay? The only way you can do this is if you can become the observer, okay? And that takes a little work. It takes a little work in your subconscious, okay? But you can be the observer. Now, when you're the observer, okay, and if you want to write to me, and have me explain, I'll do it for free. Don't worry about it. Write to me, Junior, at hereforyoulifecoaching.com. A lot of people write to me, and I answer all my emails. Okay, eventually, if I'm having a tough week, you might have to wait, a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, but I get to it. And what I'm talking about is when you do the 4 pillars. So first is affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization. Now, the vocalization, we always talk about that because that brings people down out of anxiety, sometimes permanently, sometimes just for a long time. But, when you're doing the vocalization, that's 1 pillar. Okay, so we have a business, and just so happens, right, we discovered all of this in a singing school. We had a singing school called Voice Master Singing School. Now it's called Voice Master Vocal Development because of the new, electronic age, and, people want to learn how to do good YouTube, videos and stuff. People want to learn how to do good TikToks and presentations, and they want to make their own commercials. They want to make their own videos, stuff like that for marketing. So I teach a lot of those guys. And, so we had to change the concept, because if we said singing, people will look through the the directories or wherever they find us, or websites or whatever, and they go, "Oh, okay, that's a singing school. That's not where I want to go. I want to go develop my voice because I'm doing YouTube," kind of thing, right? So that's why we re-imaged, we rebranded. So businesses do that. And we do that all the time, but that's not a podcast, Hawaiians. That's not a podcast. But excuse me, when I'm talking about with emotional, development, if you will, through the human voice, when you start developing your emotions like this, you can control them very, very well. And what I'm talking about, every time you hear me do that, I'm drinking water, because we have to go to the length here. We have to go to distance always. We got to go to distance. Anyway, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is when you start doing your affirmations, it does something to your subconscious. It makes you stronger. Okay. Now, when you do your meditation, it settles you in the mind, and this allows you to separate yourself from the world. Because when you're in the world, the Christian people have a saying. They say you can be in the world and not of the world, right? And what they really mean is you can be among the sins and the evil that's going on and not partake of it. You can do that. So, I mean, that in itself may take some, willpower, right? In some instances, but you can do that. And that's possible. And so that's an expression that they use. That's a saying that they have, right? And so now we look at emotional health. When you start writing affirmations and you do your your meditation, for lack of a better term, is just sitting still, giving yourself a vibrational break. Because when you give yourself that vibrational break, what happens is you separate from the world. Okay, now I don't mean anything, woo woo, like you go somewhere else and you teleport somewhere else and then you come back. It's not a Star Trek kind of thing. It's not like that. Okay, but what it is a vibrational timeout. Okay, and you can feel it. It's almost like you go within yourself and you just stay there for a while, and so that helps to separate you, because otherwise what you're doing is you're engaging with everything in the world. Okay, you're engaging with your text messages, you're engaging with your emails, you're engaging with your boss, you're engaging with your kids, your spouse, whatever it is, but you're engaging. Okay, and you're actively busy. When you're not doing this, you're doing that. Then you're not, whatever, you're scrolling. Or if you're not scrolling, you're bored. So you're thinking about something else, or you're doing something else. Meditation is, no, you're doing this right now. You're being still. And there is a huge value to stillness. Okay, now stillness alone, without thinking anything specific, or I want to say like thinking of doing a mantra or something like that, without even doing that. Okay, you don't even have to do a mantra. You can just sit still. Okay, but it's a challenge. Try it for 10 minutes. See if you can do 10 minutes. It's not as easy as it sounds, because we're being driven by all of this stimulus that's in the world. Okay, what happens is it becomes a challenge to turn it off. It becomes a challenge to go, no, I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to sit still, right? So 10 minutes sounds like, oh, yeah, I can sit down for 10 minutes. But then guess what happens? After about a couple of minutes, right, you get that impulse. And that impulse tells you, hey, I could be washing the car. Or, hey, I could be mowing the lawn. Or, hey, I could be, going to my friend's house and cruising, whatever. Whatever it is. I could be doing something productive. I could be, I could, whatever. And it makes you get up and leave your meditation. It makes you break your meditation, okay? Or break your stillness. If you want to say it that way, break your stillness. But what's really going on is you've been so overloaded, okay? I want to say, sensory overload, okay, for so long, every single day, that when stillness comes, it's a challenge. Okay, stillness never used to be a challenge. I remember when, and for me personally, I could tell you, about my experience, because that's all I have. When I was 10, 11, 12 years old, those years, I used to go and sit down. We lived on a valley. We still have the house, the family house. And I used to go down into the valley, and I used to just sit. And I used to sit amongst, the trees and the birds and the chickens and whatever was down there, right? And I used to just sit. And I would sit there for hours, okay? And I would just work things through my mind. And when I say work things through my mind, the backstory is that I have ADHD, okay? But it's not that I couldn't sit still. It's that my brain went into overdrive. Okay. Now I don't know how many of you have a busy brain. If you have ADHD, maybe you'll be relieved to hear this, because when I was young, I had ADHD. They couldn't give me Coca-Cola. They could, and like everybody else had, right? My friends had, but I couldn't do it. The caffeine would just send me through the roof, right? And nobody knew what was going on. But in my moments, my quiet moments, right, I would go off by myself to be alone. And I would have, what they now call quality me time, right? But back in the day, it wasn't quality me time. Well, it kind of was, but it was just like get away from everybody time. And because I was an only child, it was very, very easy for me to be alone. I can be alone for years. I could be alone forever and entertain myself and not feel lonely. Okay, there's a difference between, not having any action going on, like being bored and being lonely. Being lonely is a very sad thing for a human being because we're engineered to be with each other. We're engineered to congregate. We're engineered to bond with other humans. Okay, that's our bioengineering. But at our individual level, we all have our preferences, right? Some of us like to be alone. Some of us go off on purpose on hikes to be alone. Some people, whatever they do to be alone. And that's what I did. And it was a regular thing for me. It wasn't like a daily thing. But, every once in a while, I would just go down there and just sit, And on the last podcast, I think I talked about this Japanese man that had a big koi pond on a farm. And there was a bunch of taro patches there, and it was a big koi pond with tons of these huge koi. Like they have a hotel in town over here that with a lot of koi in the pond like that, right? And every time I see those koi, I think of that Japanese man because he was cool. I was just a little kid, and he was cool. He let me just go. He goes, "Hey, the food is over there. If you want to feed the fish." Pellets. They eat these pellets, and you just throw the pellets in the water, and they swarm, man. Like the whole pond erupts. These fish just dive for the food, right? And then you actually see how many fish are in there. I mean, it's awesome. But this alone time, this space, okay, you can achieve through sitting still. I sat still for hours and hours, and it was so easy to do those things when I was 10, 11, 12. Okay, no cell phones, no YouTube, no scrolling, no internet, no nothing, And now, though, my life is different. So now I have all this stimulus going on, right? And I have the kind of brain that needs a job. My brain needs a job. So I find myself, working in the digital world for extended amounts of time. And I'll work on a project, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll have tabs open, right? So I work on simultaneous projects and all at the same time. I'll shift gears. And what happens is like, okay, I work this thing, and then pretty soon I'm like, man, getting bored on the next thing. And I go to the next thing and I work that next thing. And then so if I have 3 things, I alternate between the 3 things. And I make a lot of progress with each thing, as I go, right? When I die, I'm going to die in the middle of 19 things, But the thing about, my stuff is that it gets completed. If you ever look online and plug my name in there, you'll see a lot of stuff that I've done, and you go, how the heck did this guy do all of this stuff? Like, this is, but I work a lot. And I think I was inspired by that, and this may help you in your life. I was inspired by Dr. Armand Hammer. Now, Dr. Armand Hammer has a brief small summary on him. He manufactured hammer pencils in the Soviet Union when they had their revolution. Okay, and you're talking about Vladimir Lenin and his crew. Okay, and so Armand Hammer was young then, and he got there was this pencil factory. And so he manufactured the pencils for the people who were going through the Russian Revolution, the children that were, coming up in the schools. They were all educated on hammer pencils. So anyway, this guy, goes into life and starts congregating with the who's who of the world, right? Your top 1 or 2 percenters, whatever you want to call it, okay? Those people. And the people in government and stuff. And so one day, years and years ago, Barbara Walters, this lady who used to be a journalist, was on his private jet. And every week she would have biographies and interviews with very, very famous people. There was Michael Jackson. There was all these popular people that she interviewed. And so I always wanted to see, that TV show. because I wanted to be inspired. I was curious, like, okay, how do they do that? How do you get to that level? How do you accomplish these things, right? And so with Dr. Hammer, she's interviewing him, and I'll never forget one of the questions. And one of the questions was like, do you think you got lucky? And he just looked at her without missing a beat and said, when you work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're bound to get lucky. And that's my brain. And that's my brain. It works 16, 18 hours sometimes, 7 days a week. I try to put it to sleep every once in a while. But yeah, that's basically, what happens. So, I need a job. My brain needs a job. So I give it a job. I give it multiple jobs. I keep it very busy because I have to. So, people describe ADHD as a brain, or ADHD people. They go, well, their brain is like it moves like a Ferrari, and they have bicycle brakes, or hardly any brakes. You know what I mean? And it's really something to deal with. For those of you that have ADHD, because many people have it now, for a while I never told anybody. I never told a living soul about my disability, and but people know, right? They talk to me and they go, something's different about Junior, and but they see the talent that I had. They see the talent side, and the music side, or the comedy side, or the art side, right, of me, and but they don't see the intellectual side of me, and I don't know. There was this point in my life where vocabulary was important. All these things were important. And then I started learning this foreign language. And in fact, there was a couple languages I was interested in. I started learning. And then my English vocabulary went down the tubes. And then it was, presented to me like, well, if you're going to teach this stuff, if you're going to discuss quantum physics and you're going to discuss the law of attraction and vibration and these things, you're going to have to break it down so that people understand what you're talking about. You're going to have to present it to them in simple terms. So then I started practicing simple, right? I started, breaking everything down and looking for terms, even when I'm talking to you, in real time here on the podcast, right? When I'm talking to you here on the podcast, I'm trying to break things down and make them simple in my head. And sometimes I get stuck, and sometimes, my brain just kind of like there's little roadblocks of here, Hawaiians, you know what I mean? So I have to dance around it. I have to skip around it. I have to look for a smaller word or a better term, or something more palatable. And there's a $10 word for you guys, palatable. What does that mean? Palatable, yeah. So you can take it in, kind of thing. But really the power that you can obtain by just doing affirmations, meditation, visualization, and vocalization is so amazing that you can separate yourself from what's going on, and you can disconnect. It's important. A lot of people are afraid to disconnect. They're afraid to disconnect because they don't want to be all alone or by themselves, or that kind of thing, right? And it's really, it's really not that. I want to say it's not really it's not really like that kind of thing, but it's like it's like you just taking yourself and removing yourself from the situation while being in it. And here's what I mean. So when I started doing this, when I started exercising this type of control, I would imagine myself as a television camera, because I worked in front of TV cameras, right? And I would just imagine this big, because, back in the day when I worked in television, the cameras were huge, and there were floor cameras that we worked with. And I know what they look like, right? Because I've been in front of them so much. And so I just envisioned a floor camera in front of me, a television camera. And then I thought, okay, I can become the camera. And if I'm the camera, I'm just watching what's going on in front of me. And sometimes, sometimes it's almost as if I'm observing all the time, and I choose when to cut it off and when to participate. Or let's say it another way, when to become the observer and when to engage. And so when you engage with something, you become a part of it. Okay. And, humans do this all the time. We link up. Okay. And if you really want to, evidence of this, just think about your best friend. Think about all the terms you share in common. Okay. Because what happened was when you became best friends, you started to link up. Okay. Your energies link up. Your inside, your whatever you want to call it, right? Spirit, soul, all of that energy. Your energy starts to link up. Okay, and especially if you gravitate towards that person and you like that person. Okay, if you like that person, you're going to gravitate more. And then you start mimicking that person. You start developing, habits that person does. And this is why they say that we become, susceptible to our environment or subject to our environment. Because we'll become exactly like what's in our environment. So, and this is why, the way things are designed in society right now, and the way things are going, it's kind of spooky on one hand, because we only see the negative things on social media, right? When there's a few positive, right? But what I'm saying is the exciting stuff is never nice. It's never, when we look at somebody screaming in front of a car, or somebody doing something in traffic, or an accident or something like that, right? We get attracted to that. We don't get attracted to a little boy bringing his mom flowers or something. You know what I'm saying? So we get attracted to that kind of stuff. And pretty soon we start emulating it. Pretty soon we start doing it. Pretty soon we watch too much road rage. We start road raging. Why? Well, because we saw it. So now we're mimicking it. Okay. It's not at the conscious level. It's at the subconscious level, because your subconscious takes in all the videos. It takes a record of it. Right. And then when you're, when you're on the street and you're driving, your subconscious goes, hey, you just got flipped off. You gonna take that, or you gonna do what we saw in the video? You see, I mean, I'm exaggerating, right? But that's what happens because we saw it happen. So we mimic it, and we, humans are way more impressionable than you think, way more. It's so easy to train your subconscious. It's so easy. People always, tell me when I have, subconscious discussions with them, they tell me, well, oh man, it's so hard to form good habits. No, it's not. It's easy. Okay. But here's the thing, always, right? When you start with your, improving your emotional health, when you start to try to get control of everything, or, some people say get a handle on everything kind of thing. When that happens, or when you're in that process, what you need to do is maintain it, okay? Because it's easy to slip back to the prior, especially if the prior was longer than the good habits. Okay, now once you do the good habits, see, I've been writing affirmations since 2008, okay? So if I miss a week of affirmations or a month of affirmations, I don't ever miss a month, but if I miss a week or something, right? I don't snap back to the old program. But if you've only been doing, affirmations for, let's say, a month or 2 months, and then you stop for a week, you can start to slip back because you are so intelligent. Human beings are so intelligent, you have no idea. You have no idea. They want to make you think, and when I say they, I just, I mean the media, the schools, the whatever. And schools do it too. Schools make you feel like you need them. Like I gotta go to school. I gotta learn about this. I can. No, now you have information on the internet. Now, if you want to go to med school or something like, yeah, you gotta go. You want to be an attorney? Yeah, you gotta go to school. That kind of thing. Yeah, you need them. Okay, but for the majority of things, AI is going to take care of that. AI is going to be running a lot of things, and it's going to be a little frustrating for you guys. If you were frustrated when phone trees came out, press one for this, press two for that, and you go through like 4 or 5 layers of that. If that frustrated you, AI will frustrate you. It will. But a lot of it, you have to, again, look on the good side. Look on the good side. On the bad side, everybody's fear mongering right now, going, oh, well, everything's going to be under control. If everything is under control, all that matters is how it's regulated, right? And I mean, I don't think it's a question of if, I think it's a question of when. So it's not like if this is going to happen, like if we're going to, have cameras on every street corner watching our every move. I don't think that's if. I think it's when. Okay, it just hasn't happened yet to that degree, because we see all this crime, and pretty soon people. So here's what happens with government and people and the way that works, right? So sometimes, okay. And let's just say entities, because I don't want to get shut down or anything, but let's just say entities will make things happen to get a reaction from people, and the reaction they want is they want people to go, "Oh man, we're so tired of this. Wait, can't you just solve this for us?" And they go, "Okay, here's your solution. We're going to put TV cameras on, we're going to have facial recognition. Like, you guys are going to be so totally safe, but then there's other things, right? That they're fear mongering right now. Like, well, you can only go 6 miles out of your town and restrictions, whatever, social credit scores, all that stuff. Right. And right now I can tell you that, the people I know, don't have a very good social credit score, and I don't think I do either online. I don't think, because on my Facebook there's a lot of opinions, and I join in the discussion. So I'm with them, and I always my joke with them on my Facebook is like, well, we'll all be together in the same 15-minute city one day, or something like that. But what I'm saying is, it's the longer you go down this road, okay, and let's call it personal development if you want, or we can call it emotional intelligence if you want. But the more time spent is what I'm saying. The longer you go down this road, right, the easier it gets, because now it's going to take a longer period of time for you to snap back to the old habits. Okay. But habits that you've had just recently, yeah, it's going to be easy, but you got to work your way through it. Like when I quit smoking, right? I used to smoke. I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to love smoking cigarettes, right? But I had to make a choice. I make a living with my voice. So it's like, okay, I had to sit down and have a serious talk with myself. I do this all the time. And, I had to weigh the two sides, It's like, okay, you're going to quit smoking and make money, or you're just going to let your voice fall apart and smoke all you want and possibly, get sick in some form or whatever, some way from that. And it's still, I mean, because I smoked, I'm still not out of the clear. I could come down with something, but that was the choice. And I remember, like, and I quit smoking on a weekend. It was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and by Monday I had no desire to smoke whatsoever, and never did again. But I used to have dreams, right? I mean, so this is part of the recovery process. This is part of the rehabilitation process. I had dreams that I had to go through these dreams where I thought I smoked, and I would wake up going, "Oh man, was that a dream? Did I really smoke?" Because I would have these dreams where I would smoke a little bit and then be like, "Oh, I'm okay. I can smoke when I want and I can turn it off." That was not the case. That was not the case. When I used to smoke, like I just, I remember quitting, right, for a while. And then the second time I smoked, it was because I met this girl that smoked, and I was lighting her cigarettes for her and stuff, like playing around with them, right? Pretty soon I was smoking a cigarette with her. Pretty soon I was buying my own. I mean, it just escalates like that, right? But what I'm really saying is, the farther you can distance yourself from something, the safer you are. And the odds of going back to your old habits with your subconscious is get smaller. Okay. But maintenance is important. So, do I still meditate? Oh yeah. Do I write affirmations? Yep. Wrote one yesterday. Okay. Today I did not write one because I was sleeping. Today was my hit the wall day. I just decided like, okay, no, today you take it easy, but then, I go for like 2 weeks, like jam, 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 boom, boom, boom kind of thing, because my brain needs a job. So you can develop this. Okay. Now all you have to do is write an affirmation. Write an affirmation without any negatives. Okay, here's an example. I am so happy and grateful now that I am healthy. That's a double I am. Okay, so I am, when you're using I am, you're using the creator's name. Okay, but you're referring to yourself and the creator, one in the same. Okay, it's sort of like Ho'oponopono that they do in Hawaii, and it's I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Right? You're saying it to yourself and you're saying it to the creator. Now that will absolve you of guilt. It will take it away. Okay. So part of our meditation is Ho'oponopono. And we do it as part of our meditation. You can do it too. Okay. And we have guided meditation that we do. And the guided meditation is as though, the podcast is not long enough, but yeah, there's a guided meditation that I do with people. There's a guided meditation that I do with people in session on Zoom. Okay. So my clients that, are on Zoom with me, we go through a guided meditation. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that will keep you on track, and there's a lot of things that will make you strong so you can separate yourself from all the crap that's going on. Okay. And it's really important because you see, back in the day, there was still stuff going on. There was still bad stuff going on. Not the same kind of bad stuff, okay? But there was bad stuff. There was always bad stuff. There is always a balance, Hawaiians, okay? But the difference is, okay, the balance happens, right? Because there's always good and bad. You need one for the other, okay? Otherwise, there would be no difference. Okay, so you need one. It's like the yin and the yang principle. You need one to support the other. Okay, so both are necessary. But it's just that now we have social media. You have access to everything in the palm of your hand. Okay, so it'll drive you crazy if you let it. It will make you think all kinds of stuff. Okay, and if you don't believe me, look up 5th generation warfare. Okay. In fact, look it up on Rumble because, they're taking stuff down. And that's another thing, things are being taken down like all over the place. A lot of the things that I say on the podcast and stuff, people's like, what? Uncle, what? I'm like, yeah, go on YouTube. It's not on YouTube anymore, but go on Rumble, check Rumble and Odyssey. Odyssey is another one that you can get some pretty good information and things that used to be on YouTube that are no longer allowed. So, and some of it is just really common sense, good stuff, like the proper human diet, Okay. Go look it up, and while you're at it, go and look up Dr. Ken Berry. Okay. And he'll show you the proper human diet. You want to get well. You have no aches and pains. I have no aches and pains. I have, I'm on the proper human diet. It doesn't mean I'm on a diet. Okay. What it means is I'm eating right, for myself as a human being. And, check it out. Dr. Ken Berry. He's on YouTube. But slowly they're being censored. And, my only thing about that is one day my services may not be allowed online. My services it might be just, okay, you got to have a PhD and you got to be a psychologist and you got to, this, that, and the other thing and whatever. And that's why it's very important that I say that I make no medical claims. Okay. But I can tell you that, man, the people that have recovered, I want to say recovered from stress, recovered, okay, not in the medical sense. I'm just, recover means you had stress and now you don't. Okay. And the people that, go through my program experience that. They're really, really stressed when they come. And after a few months, they're like, wow, like, I didn't know I could do this. And I'm like, yeah. And we get them that way first through their voice. And once they're down at base level, what I call base level, it's easy to implement. Now we implement the affirmations. Now we implement the meditations. Now they can sit still because they've worked all this energy out through their voice. And these are the straight tone exercises that we do. And if you want to learn more about it, you can just hit me up at junior@hereforyoulifecoaching.com, and I'll tell you about it. I'll actually email you the fact sheet. Okay, the science behind it. There's solid science behind it. But like I said, I'm not making any medical claims. But when you research the science, you go, oh yeah, of course, that makes sense. Oh yeah, your neurotransmitters, are activated, and oh yeah, oxytocin and endorphins. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, I guess, yeah, that's the way it happens. Oh, okay. I mean, that kind of stuff. So this is not, this is not baseless feel good stuff. When I look around and I see, just the feel good stuff. I saw I saw a very famous. I'm not going to mention his name because I'm not trying to hate on anybody, but I saw this very famous guy. He's a very famous thought leader, and he was describing. Okay, he was describing that the best time, basically it was about the best time to manifest, right? First thing in the morning when you wake up, because your brain's in theta state, okay? And then in the evening when you're just drifting off to sleep and your brain's in theta state. That's the best time to manifest, okay? But then he was saying, that's the time when you tell your brain, how you don't want to be, what you don't want to say, what you don't want to do, and I'm like, oh. That's where he went wrong. It's not, you never state what you don't want to do. That's a negative. Okay. So God, the universe, however you believe, your higher self, your higher power does not recognize negatives. So if you say, I don't want to smoke anymore, what you're saying is, I smoke anymore, or I want to smoke anymore, whatever. The don't is not recognized, right? So when I saw that, I'm like, oh man, like, why are you doing that? And he knows, I'm sure he knows. He has to know. Okay. And maybe he's just saying it so some people can understand it or whatever. But when you start writing affirmations with negatives, it doesn't go anywhere. Okay. When you write affirmations with negatives, it defeats the purpose of the affirmation. Okay, if you focus on what you don't want, you're going to get more of it. Okay, simply because the don't isn't recognized. So what you do is you focus on what you want. Always focus on what you want. Okay, and as far as emotional intelligence goes, vocalization. Okay, with the straight tones and stuff, you can contact me for that. But the visualization is seeing yourself there. Seeing yourself as worthy, seeing yourself as something important. And I don't mean grandiosity. I don't mean like inflated ego. I don't mean that. I mean like you count, like you need to be here. A lot of people right now really feel that they don't need to be here. And that's so sad, right? People are committing suicide and stuff. I mean, those things are happening, and that's not good. Not good at all. So what you can do is write positive affirmations, right? I am so happy and grateful now that I'm having a great life. And if you do that often enough, and if you speak it out loud often enough, your subconscious will go, oh, is that what we're doing? A good life? And your subconscious will start creating circumstances and start bringing these situations into your life where, you will actually have a good life. You will start to have a good life because the last thing you want, Hawaiians. Oh, sorry, Hawaiians. I gotta go. I gotta go. Hey, want to thank Brother Randy and Sister Jerry over at Island Club and Spa, our sponsors. Also, Voice Master family of service companies. I'd like to mahalo them. Also, mahalo to AFM Hawaii Music and the music of Darren Chinan. It's online. Check out Darren on the website. It's afmhawaiimusic.com. And you can book him for your parties. I mean, he's awesome. Awesome singer, awesome, talented guy. Check him out, Darren Chinan. Until next time, this is Junior Saint Mahalo and Allah.